Good morning. It's an honour and a pleasure to be here with you all this morning. My name's Charlotte Leslie. I'm a former Member of Parliament in the UK for the Conservative Party. It's my second time in Damascus. I was here the first time with former Ambassador Simon Collis in 2011, in February 2011. So it is an enormous honour and pleasure for me to be here in a conference like this after everything that Syria has been through. It's an additional honour and pleasure to be here alongside some remarkable businesswomen who are trailblazing what women can do not only in Syria but also internationally. I will allow our guests just to get mic'd up. Are we all good? We're all good. First, let me introduce Alia Ayoub Agha. She is a Syrian-British investment and economics professional who oversees her family office investments. Alongside her career, she's also a mother of two, and she's a passionate advocate for education and lifelong learning. Welcome, Alia.
Thank you, thank you, SMEC, for putting this together. I'm Alia, investment advisor for Ayoub. Our story began in the late 1970s when my father set up a construction company in Nigeria. And within 2 decades, the company expanded infrastructure development, commercial and residential development. In the mid-2000s, my father had a vision to extend the company's footprint into Syria. So it was quite challenging and quite tricky at that time. Yet the company prevailed and we delivered a landmark residential project in Damascus named the Address. In 2014, again, we were very much encouraged by my father's forward-thinking mindset. We set up an investment and development arm in London, my siblings and myself. And today the company bridges 3 very distinct economic landscapes. It's Nigeria, Syria, and the United Kingdom. And we're here today because we'd like to positively contribute to Syria's future. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Alia. Thank you, Alia. To my right is Nadine Chaoui, who is Managing Director of Al-Inaya Drugstore and of her family's business, Chaoui & Co. She chairs the Women's Business Committee at the Federation and the Damascus Chamber of Commerce, helping create spaces where tradition and innovation can meet and where women can play an active role in shaping Syria's economic and social landscape. Nadine, can you give us a few words about yourself?
Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you, BBC, for having us. So let me just add a little bit. The company, Chaoui Group, was created by my grandfather in 1933 in Damascus in the paper trading. Today, the 3rd generation is on board of the business. The 2nd generation expanded to different fields and different countries. I serve as Al-Inaya's managing director, which is importation and distribution of pharmaceutical products. So we represent multinational companies such as AstraZeneca, because we're talking about the British Council, but others such as Roche, Johnson & Johnson, and many others. The Chaoui business is mainly selling raw materials to local production companies in flavoring and fragrances. Also, the woman part is very sensitive to me because I do believe, as the MP perfectly said, that we cannot leave half the population not participating in the Syrian recovery.
Nadine, thank you. And finally, Nazek Jandali. Nazek Jandali is Vice Chairwoman of Jandali Group. She manages the group's business, bringing international experience in FMCG, luxury retail and food manufacturing to one of Syria's long-established family companies. Her career bridges multinational leadership with entrepreneurship and business innovation. Nazek, can I ask you to say a few words about yourself?
Sure. Thanks for having me. As Charlotte said, I am the Vice Chairwoman of Jandali Group. Jandali Group is my family-owned group of companies of more than 30 years of history in food commodity trading, food manufacturing, and logistics. So my father, he established the group back in 1992 in Syria. So we never left Syria as a business, as manufacturing, as traders, and we now operate from not only Syria but from UAE and Turkey. I'm very, very proud to be part of the Syrian-Britain Business Conference in such panel, very professional, because I've attended so many conferences around the world, and it's been a real dream for us to have such professional conference here in our home country, Syria.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to talk a little bit about where we're coming from in terms of the history of women in business. You're all women who are of Syria, from Syria, and you're all sitting here on this stage because you've got very distinguished careers, which isn't always perhaps the perception of some looking at women in the region and in Syria in particular. Nadine, I'll come to you first. You grew up in Damascus and went to university in Beirut and London, and then returned to Damascus in 2010. What was the work environment like then, in the Damascus that you found, and what had it been like?
So when I came back in 2010, it was very promising and optimistic, to be very honest. And the country was opening up. Private banks were present, private insurance companies were present. We felt there was an encouragement for private sector to develop. Sadly for me, I came back in September 2010, and in Feb 2011, I was faced with the complete opposite of what I came to have in Syria. This probably shaped the person I am today. I had dreams to go into, I think everyone knows that now, into hospitality business, and this is what I studied in Spain after Beirut. But then the reality is that my father placed me in the pharma company, and I've been there for 15 years. And I think it gives meaning to business and how you can contribute, even in very tough times, to serve the Syrian patient who's isolated from anything political that is happening.
One thing that unites you all, although you have different backgrounds and operate in different ways, is that you all have very supportive families, and particularly fathers. And I know there are probably at least two very proud fathers in the audience today. Nazek, like Nadine, your family and your father in particular has played a great role in where you are today.
Yeah.
What was your family's expectation for you as you grew up, and how was that? How were you supported by your family?
Sure. So since I was very young, my father supported me in exploring really the business world at a very, very early age. So he introduced me to internships, and 20 years ago, trust me, there was no internship programs in Syria. And he actually supported me by doing internships in banking sector like previous bank, Azure Insurance, in order for me to get in the mood of really being a business entrepreneur in the future. So that was really the beginning of my career path, and after completing my master's degree in France, it was the time for me to really face the real business life by finding my own job in Dubai in a very competitive marketplace, and without any support. So it was for me really a challenging period. But thankfully, I was very lucky and got very multinational experience in different multinational companies that really prepared me to be ready for a leadership position to really grow and continue the legacy that my dad really working on for so many years.
Nazek, thank you. Alia, what would you say is the history and tradition of women in the workplace, both in Syria and beyond? And how has your own personal history fitted into that?
Okay, so hello? Sorry. So from my experience, back in 2003, when I graduated from university for my bachelor's, I worked in a corporate setting, and I aligned with Nazek that my dad always pushed us to gain experience, even as women, and try to understand how businesses are run, etc. But the workplace in Damascus was actually quite open, very welcoming for women. The office I worked at least there was 60% women. It was led by women. Although, as well, our director was a male figure, but still he was very welcoming. He was very encouraging to hear our ideas. So we were taken very seriously. And this is how I saw things around 2003. And again, it was becoming more open, like Nazek mentioned. I worked in the banking sector. And as well, there were a lot of women that their parents would send abroad to get training. And that was the general environment for Syrian women.
Thank you. So we're not starting from an historic position where women have not had a role. Nadine, I'm going to come back to you because you chair the Business Women Council of the Syrian Federation and Damascus Chambers of Commerce. So I'll ask you first in that position, what are the challenges for women now? And are those challenges, are they symptomatic of a wider challenge for everybody, or are they specific to women in the workplace where we find ourselves now?
Okay, so I believe, first of all, that the challenges that Syria's economy are facing are not gender-related. There are general economical problems such as purchasing power, low purchasing power, foreign access to foreign currency, supply chain disruption. But I do believe that there is something that has to be done socially or as a common narrative around different entities to make sure that women can access to a certain position and can make a difference and are included in all decisions. So there are no policies that forbid or do not allow women to be involved, but there are many not direct things that affect that, such as, for example, curriculum at school, such as media presence, such as narrative that is told in Syria. And this is a crucial point, and because I am also board of a school, I'm a board member of a school, so this is really personal to me, and I strongly believe that in order to have strong businesswomen, this starts at home and it starts at school. So it has to be an inclusive effort for us to have what we want in the future. Today, no policies are against women, directly against women, and I asked a lawyer before coming and saying that to make sure this is correct. So there are no policies that do not give the same right to women, but it's everything around it.
So we're looking at something slightly more intangible than any laws that are preventing women from coming into the workplace.
Absolutely. There is also the culture thing that is part of the equation, and we all know that it is part of our culture to be responsible housewives, to have kids, to help our parents. So all this comes with a weight. So the equation is heavier for women because we have additional things that we need to carry. But I think this is a problem that is faced worldwide, maybe more in our part of the world. But I do get a lot of questions, how are you managing? Frankly, I am not. I am struggling. It's not easy to manage all that, and this is why we need a support system. And the support system comes from work facilities such as childcare, for example, entities, to families, to parents, to neighbors, to friends, who all come in the equation to make you succeed.
Alia, so we're facing a situation where there are formal barriers to women to work, but in fact there are lots of barriers which subtly prevent women from putting themselves forward. What's your assessment of what those barriers may be? Is there any extent to which making women more comfortable in the workplace, for example, might play a role? How do you see those intangible barriers?
I definitely agree with Nadine. We need to have a supportive environment for women in the workplace where, I mean, I know now there's a shift towards flexible working. I mean, at least what I can borrow from the UK, flexible working, part-time options, as well as remote working, etc. So those are things that, since already we are rebuilding and we are starting from ground zero, this is where we can build on for women and be intentional when we have policies in place or in the workplace that there is some type of flexibility that goes nicely for the woman because she has other responsibilities when it comes to childcare and home. She has that work-life balance and she can be even more productive if she had those arrangements in place. So I think it's just the intentional, having that intentional within the business world.
Nazek, you've had a very unusual experience, if I may say so. In your workplace, you've been really a very lone woman in a very male environment in something like milling. Can you talk a little bit about what it's like being the only woman in the room, how you personally manage that, and what lessons you think we can learn from making workplaces that are traditionally quite male-dominated easier for women to come into, from your own personal experience, which is quite extraordinary?
Sure. So I work in the trading commodities industry as long as the food manufacturing industry, which are both very, very much of like male-dominated industries. And if we look globally, the global commodities trading, the female representation is only 12 to 15% versus other industries, same as like the milling industry and the grain trading industry. So for me, when I stepped into the family business, I had the real mindset since the beginning that I'm here to actually support. I'm not here to take anyone's place in the business. I'm here to work together with my male colleagues in order to focus on growing the business the way they were doing, but with a multinational kind of mindset. And this, I was working with really two strategies. The first strategy was the wonder strategy, which is creating the curiosity by asking my team members, like, what can I do to continue your success? What can I do to really continue everything that looked really successful when you are working? I'm just here to learn from you, not to take anyone's place. So with this mindset, it helped me to integrate being a businesswoman in such a male-dominated industry. Also networking, like I was really communicating with everyone in the group from really all the departments in order to show them that women can have an effect, positive effect, not to take over anyone's role in the business. These two strategies really worked well for me as I was able to even be an example for so many of our team members as women. We started to open departments in order to make the female worker feel comfortable, such as, for example, the laboratories. We have so many experts, female experts in the labs. We kind of created jobs for female, for example, in the finance sector, we have like so many females. So as a business owner or as a businesswoman, when the team member, they look at you, they see you are on ground working with them, working as everyone else, you know, there's no hierarchy in the business. It really helped me.
I'm going to come to all of you on this, but I'll continue with you, Nazek. It sounds like what you're talking about takes time. Is that the case? Are we looking at a cultural shift that can't be done instantly? And if so, how should we set our expectations? And what kind of things could instigate that cultural change in the workplace?
Sure. So I will just throw like a small example here that really inspires me a lot, which is the localization, the workforce localization that was implemented in the GCC. When they implemented the rule of having 2% of local workers in the private sectors, it was like, at the beginning, it was not very much accepted by expats, for example, but at the end, it kind of stabilized and made a really huge demographic it kind of corrected the demographic imbalance in the companies or in the private sectors. So I would say maybe not having a rule as much as creating a culture of having a specific percentage of each private sector having a female team members. We can't say rule because I mean it's also personal decision and it's also depending on the cultural point of view of the family that the woman comes from. You can't really change generations. You can work on it by introducing such kind of ideas and strategies, just like how they implemented the localization workforce in the GCC. So maybe it would be a very good idea. This will motivate the generation to really work hard to really fit into this 2% of the teams of like private sectors or public sectors.
Before I come to Nadine to ask how this plays out in Syria, I just want to come to Alia first. Obviously, one thing that's very easy to forget when we're talking about women doing everything is that we are not solely defined by not being men. We are also all different and have our own different backgrounds and different cultures and expectations. Alia, how do you see the role between organic cultural change and regulation? Do the two work hand in hand? Should it be organic only, or can regulation play a role?
I think when it comes to this issue, I like to look at it from top down and bottom up. Top down, we need the regulation, definitely we need the legislation, the principles-based hiring, etc. on women. And then from the bottom up, we need to address that girls in Syria, according to a statistic that I pulled out from the World Bank, is 50% of girls don't have a literacy rate from primary age. So from primary age, we have no girls that continue education. And this is an issue. So this is the bottom-up approach. And then we have the top-down that both have to come together, where we have to address definitely girls getting more education, make sure that it's in regulation, that girls and boys, of course, that they continue getting at least a high school degree by law. And then we go forward and we look at the firm principles on addressing women, etc. This will encourage girls as well to work, be more productive, add value to the economy, and the benefits are probably limitless because women at the end of the day, they become mothers and they educate their children. They have this whole full cycle of education that keeps going in the economy and more productivity and more growth, hopefully.
We know that education is one of the themes of this conference, and there's a round table going on it. And it's something that I want to come to towards the end of the session because it seems to be a primary cause for limitation for women in the workplace. Nadine, you're based here in Syria, you're working in Syria. From what we've been discussing, how does this play out in Syria, in Damascus, and the whole of Syria where we are now? What is the role of regulation in encouraging people into the workplace? And what are the other obstacles that we can perhaps overcome through that?
So again, the challenges are really big, and it's easier for us to discuss here when we are all of a certain business, really tiny percentage of the society. Rules do oblige kids to go to school and to stay in school up to a certain class. The problem is the situation demanded otherwise. And for the past 14 years, kids had to drop from school simply because they could not buy them bags to go to school to, or simply because they had to bring money home. So this, again, the socio impact. The socio impact is really big on the business itself. We were blessed, the three of us, and I think the fourth of us, to come from backgrounds where we never felt any inequality between our siblings, or on the contrary, we were maybe even more encouraged to enter the business. But this is not the situation on the ground. So this is where the role is important. And yesterday I had a conversation with one of the ladies, and we were pointing out the very little amount of the presence, the very shy presence of women, even at the conference today. And I was sharing the difficulties and the challenges we are facing as women committee to bring those women and to have them involved. Because as well, it's our nature as women and as Syrian women to be shy and to stay in the shadow. We don't do things for recognition, and we don't like to be socially present just to say we are here. And one of the things I realized is that you have to be present on social media or else nothing would be seen. And I'm struggling with that. But I do see the positive point. So we are at a phase where we really need to go and find those women and convince them of the impact they are doing. And there is something that I mentioned to everyone who talked to me, is what we are facing today is, unfortunately, and I said it before, men coming to do business in Syria and not families coming to live in Syria. And when I have businessmen who comes Sunday to Thursday, it's not the same thing than when I have a man with his wife and 3 kids who are moving and enrolling their kids in schools and spending money and living. And this is the impact that we need to have in order for the economy to recover properly. And we can use some women to stand by our side and make this portion of the community bigger.
So you're saying that come and do life in Syria, not just business?
Not just business. I understand the challenge of education again, but also today international schools are allowed to be operating in Syria. I am the president of the French school that never closed. We do have a few international schools, and a lot of work is being done for the local schools. So I think it needs time, but this is where people need to be encouraged to come back and live in Syria and not just work.
Nadine, I'll stay with you for a second. There was one study that was done in the UK on opportunities for women. And it was found that you are better off if you are, like me, very blessed to be a woman born into a well-off family with opportunities, than you are if you're a boy or a man into a family of low socio-economic status. So well-off women in the UK do better than badly off men. To what extent are we talking about a socio-economic issue? And to what extent is this a gender issue in Syria?
Okay, here also there is a very important point that we need to raise, is that women for the past 15 years were forced to work. So it wasn't really a choice because husbands were either killed or had to leave the country. So they played a crucial role and they were able to feed their families. So those entrepreneurs or those women are here, and many of them don't even know the impact they can play. The beauty of Syria is really, and I honestly believe in it, is that every single one of us can make a difference, because it's a virgin land with multiple opportunity, with very big challenges, but this is where you can make a difference. So, and I discovered as well that just by talking to people, you can influence. And again, going back to the narrative, where we need to encourage women to enter the workplace and to facilitate things for them. Again, regarding the quotas, by principle, I'm meritocracy based, so I don't believe in having quotas, but I do also think that we are in a phase where I can see the advantage of having that imposed.
So a bit of a kickstart to get things changing. Nazek, one of the key obstacles to women all over the world in going into the workplace, I think particularly if you're perhaps the first woman from your family, which may be lower socioeconomic status, to go into a career, is the idea that you cannot be a good mother if you are a good businesswoman. What do you think of that? How can we persuade, is that the case, firstly? Are they mutually exclusive? And if not, how can we persuade more women that they are not letting down their families by going into business?
Sure. So we start from the small organization, which is the family, I call it, kind of organization, to make it like a output to output. So the woman is, since the woman is already able to manage her small organization, which is the family, husband, kids, and making sure everything is going smooth. So this skill can be also transferred into the business world. So this success can be transferred from not only the household, but also can be transferred into the work field. But what I mean by this, because the success skill, it comes with so many other skills. By elevating, for example, her communication skill, when she's able to really communicate at work with business men and women, she's gonna be coming home with a very skills of very well communication with her kids and her husband, and also the negotiation skills that she really learns from outside, from the business world, can also teach her kids, and now we're talking about a full generation that can be really grow and be able to be ready to face the real life challenges by starting from the negotiation, communication skills at home, taking it outside to the real world. Not only that, I believe when the woman works and becomes successful in business, her self-esteem really goes up. And when a woman comes back home with a very high self-esteem, she will be respected differently from her family and even from her kids. So now we're talking about a generation, confident generation, ready to really make a change in the outside world, not only in their own family at home.
So you're saying that it's not either or, mother or business, and it's complementary, not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Alia, coming back to, I know you're very passionate about education, coming back to life chances for if you are a family of resources or not. We've talked about the role of international schools and private schools here in Syria, and of course not just in Syria. What can be done to level that playing field so that your life chances aren't so dictated, particularly if you're a woman, if you're from a low economic background?
I think given that we're going to have a number of international schools and private schools that will open up, and again it's the intention when they move into Syria, that they have certain programs that address girls at a very young age, like competitions, scholarships, etc., from socioeconomic backgrounds that are underrepresented, and they have the right skill set to succeed in the future and contribute to the economy. I think it's very important that they have nationwide competitions across different regions in Syria. I think will add a lot of value, and I've seen this firsthand, and it's quite very. It addresses the issue straight away. And you can bring in, unlock true potential for girls. This is one.
So we have a practical measure that we could look at to start levelling that playing field so that we unleash more talent.
I think, and the private sector has a very big role, given that they are going to open international schools hopefully in the next 5 years. And if this is in the background and they have those programs set in place early on, we are able to bring in girls and educate them and get them to be more represented in the economy.
I was going to say, one of the very encouraging things, and thank you very much to our superb audience, is that we have an audience here of gentlemen who are listening to this debate, whether they're very polite, but we have a room full of gentlemen. One of the things that perhaps often gets missed is that the empowerment of women is not interesting or relevant or important just for women. It's for the whole of society, and as Mel Ward MP, who opened our session, so rightly said, that economies that are looking to the future realise that unleashing the talent of half your workforce is, perhaps unsurprisingly, quite a good idea if you want to economically succeed. Alia, I'll start with you again. What do you see as the advantages for the whole of society for women being active in the workplace?
So this, I'm going to go back to hard research, and it has been proven that if you have diversity of thought, whether it's in the workplace, economy on every level in society, and of course as a whole, that we end up being more productive, more innovative, more creative, and we advance more as long as we have that diversity of thought and the women add that dynamic to any team, any cabinet, any etc. So this is where I see that this is the added value, and this is proven research. It's not, I'm not just speaking out of maybe this will happen. This is proven research that companies that have that diversity actually perform better, they grow, and they do actually continue to grow because of that diversity of thought. So it's quite complementary for men and women to be represented together, and not just male-dominated or just female-dominated. We want both to work together, partner together, to in any setting, basically.
Nazek, I'm going to ask you the same thing. Is it a confident workplace that can happily accommodate confident women? And what are the benefits?
It's really about working together. It's really about reaching the sole objective of development, of really growing economy. Like, even if women should not be looked as male and female, it's not about that. It's about the really combination of different skills, different talents together for one objective. At the end of the day, we all want to be living in a very developed country, like very comfortable society, because we're talking about the future, not only now. We've been waiting for such period of time for so long, and it's now our duty and our really time to show how us as women supporting in different industries can really have a positive effect on the long term, not only on the short term. But I want to really add to Nadine's point that facilitating the lifestyle of women, being able to have this work-life balance by having flexible working hours, nurseries for kids that can be really young age, but the woman needs to be at the office at the same time. Facilitating these things can really help the woman to be out there and showing the skills she has to be able to really be part of the country development in the future.
And finally, Nadine, on the collective benefits of women in the workplace, and I'll come back finally to you specifically on Syria, since we're here in Damascus. What are the benefits, and what would be your message and our message to those who are building Syria's future in terms of unleashing the potential of half the population?
So, to answer this question, first of all, I know I'm the president of the Business Women Committee, but I do not believe that the segregation itself is correct. And I do believe that they should be a men and women business community and not two different entities. And I owe it as well to the board member of the Damascus Chamber of Commerce, because they do believe in women empowerment, and we have their full support. Really, it's in their core values. What I believe, we should not segregate both. We do understand that women have extra challenges, but I believe for women or men equally to be interested to invest in Syria, we need trust to be restored, we need policies to be clear, and we need bureaucracy to decrease.
Nadine, thank you very much. May I ask for a thanks to our excellent audience. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte, and all our panelists. We would like, as part of our follow-up, to explore setting up our own Women in Business group that is a continuous part of our work in the Syria Women Business Council. So we hope the inspiration you've given us all will help us with that project. Thank you very much.